And I suppose we'll pivot down to the southern hemisphere quickly.
Yeah,
and go
absolutely.
through some Super Rugby stuff, which there were a few interesting games actually. We were bigging up the Crusaders last week, only for them to draw to the Stormers away, which was actually a great performance from the Stormers as well to put together. It's a lovely try from Sia Khaleesi.
It has to be said, because we rail on the attendances in these games so often. The brilliant attendance in Newlands, which is one of the great rugby stadiums, and props to the Cape Town Republic and the Cape Town Public, and just in general the organisation of the Stormers for marketing it well, presumably pricing it in a reasonable way, and getting a load of fans into Newlands with a good atmosphere. And what happened? They put it up to the Crusaders. They got a bit of fire under the belly that you just can't get when you're playing in front of empty seats.
Exactly.
And so totally they were great. I loved that Sia Khaleesi try at the start of the game.
What a way to tee it all up and get the crowd into it.
He could be lifting the World Cup at the end of the year. He's got a drive about him, a real angry drive that's bubbling beneath the surface. When he just really hates losing.
He doesn't like being stopped. He doesn't like losing at all.
You can see how competitive he is, and he's great. And the Stormers were great, and they put it up to them. Although it can't be overlooked that I don't think that pass for the Crusaders try was forward, that was dubiously called forward in fast play, that should have won them the game. But what are you going to do? You move on.
Play the game, play the whistle, and it was a great result for the Stormers, who have had, again, same as all the South African teams, just up and down, very hard to get a reading on it. One thing we do know is that Sia Khaleesi's all class. On an individual basis, you can see the class acts, but it's very often the team that you're going like scratching your head.
Safa conference is still super fun. It's super hot.
Yeah, well, like the other thing that happened in that conference, we had the Jags going over to
they're now 6 from 7. Yeah, and the other defeat was a losing bonus point away in New Zealand. Who were they playing?
To the
Highlanders, was it, or Chiefs? Either Highlanders or Chiefs.
I know it was Highlanders.
I think it was Highlanders.
Yeah, because this was the Canes that they managed to stuff. In their home patch, and
comfortably,
like it was an 8-point win in the end, but that last 7
they were
came like in the 82nd minute. They were 15 up in comfort zone, much better than them, and they just look sharp. Like it's like you said, Argentina is awake for the World Cup, and as soon as they do wake up, we know they can play ball.
Yeah, totally.
And they
just a wonderful heads up play about them, and then they do just punish. They also have some super slick set piece moves. That little scything line break ahead of their last try, I think it was.
Beautiful try.
But it was full of deception. I mean, they had essentially the 10, the guy who eventually got the ball, the winger in behind here. 2 runners really narrow off the 10 who ran in opposite directions, took the defenders with them, and all of a sudden this guy comes round into the hole. It's literally old school little rugby moves that work super well against numbered up man coverage defences that New Zealand like to bring to proceedings. It's Rog wouldn't be happy. Rog just watch the ball. They're all watch the man, and like that they're just and then all of a sudden the guy you weren't watching is in the hole, and it was very well crafted. They're full of that, and then when they get it, like almost like Glasgow, when they get a flow to them, they just don't stop.
No,
the passes stick, the lines continue.
The chip and chase is gathered. And
and then they just are all running support lines, and they just get buzzing, and they got a nice wee maul try in there as well.
Yeah, it's all kind of coming together, because we know their pack is stellar as well. Creevy getting his hands on the ball, it's being organised, they're looking determined. It's great. It's always what we've suspected. We've been waiting for this Jags ever since their inception as an idea, as a concept, and we were looking at their projected team sheet going like, that's a class team. Unquestionably.
Why are they like completely out of the playoff picture? Now they're right in the playoff mix.
It's the same reason it's easy to beat Argentina in November in an off World Cup year. It's just they're not in it as much. Travel is a huge factor for them to play anyone, so it's much easier for them to get in camp.
The question for them now is they've been winning. They've been on tour. They've been winning. They got the business end of the season. There's going to emerge over the next couple of weeks. You're going to see 1 or 2 of those SAFA teams that are in contention. Maybe the Stormers and the Sharks, despite my love for the Sharks, are going to slip out of contention, and it's going to become between the Bulls and the Jags and maybe the Lions will emerge as the guys competing for it. Now the question that the Jags have yet to answer is business time, crunch time. I mean,
can we do it?
I remember seeing old school Super Rugby, Western Force having a great season. A very different team, obviously. They shut everything down instead of opening everything up. But they had a great season, and it was all going swimmingly for them. And then just at the end, they didn't quite make the playoffs. That's where Glasgow. The comparisons are real, though. The Jags quite like Glasgow, but that's where the Jags are at. Are they gonna kick on. Are they good? They're going back. I'm not sure where they're going in the weeks to come, but presumably they're going to go back and get a few home games.
I would hope so.
In the run-in.
They seem to be on the road constantly now.
Yeah. They're away in the Taz next week, so they're probably on the way home from New Zealand through a little bit of Australia. They're on their way back. A convoluted way. They're not going through the Pacific Ocean. They'll have to stop off in South Africa maybe and then go. Crazy travels. They
literally go around the world several times. They circumvent the world in a season.
Totally.
It's pretty crazy, but it is a huge factor in dipping performances as well. It's a big part of this league. It's hard to fathom from a European or Eurocentric kind of view.
They are still in Australia in round 16. Sorry, I'm just looking up them. They had home games at the start, I remember. So they've got 2 more games in Australia, and then they're back home to host the Sharks, and then finally the Sunwolves.
Okay.
So hang on. They got Waratahs, Reds, Sharks, Sunwolves. You win all 4. You win the 4.
Yes. This is it. They should be doing they're better than them. So go and do it. Yeah.
The Rebels away might be a tough game. The Taz away might be a tough game. Next 2 weeks, are they going to kick on? They've been great on tour so far. They've done wonderful things in New Zealand. They got a couple of
awful cheap to be gaining points in New Zealand, only to be frittering them away in Australia the week after. It's interesting. Like that was one of my main tidbits of the season, and we had lovely comment from Unbiased Rugby, one of our subs. Thanks very much. But talking about just the fact that if you removed the Crusaders, the Hurricanes,
they're the top 2,
and the Sunwolves,
or the bottom
that
2.
Everyone is kind of within 9 points of each other, which is great. Lovely condensed like competitive field,
and it gets even better when you look at the conferences. I mean, there's 6 points in the whole South African conference. There's 6 points between all 5 teams. That's cool,
brilliant. But then one of my main little suspicions one of my main little curiosities at the outset of Super Rugby was how are the Jags going to look. And that's why I've been so pleasantly surprised, and not even surprised, but like just kind of was half expecting,
validated
a little to be like,
they're not this bad.
They're really good. I maintain they're genuinely really
Super
good
rugby players.
It's good to see them actually performing and getting some wins, getting a few scalps in New Zealand. Excellent.
Yeah, totally. All about it.
Similarly, the Rebels. Showing something.
The Rebels were showing defeat,
but they were showing defeat. Like they're showing something. Same like the Aussie conference has kind of improved despite the fact that it's got rid of the Western Force, which was its best fan base in half a country.
No, it wasn't. It's still a mistake. I still make the Rebels have become a quality little rugby team. They've assembled basically the Aussie backline in Genia and Quaid. They're all exiles though from where they started, and the Force was just
on the wing for them as well. It's
Jack Maddox and Corbetti, and then it could be a Wallaby front row because they got Haley back 3 rather because they got Haley Pelly at fullback. So they got actually a pretty cool backline assembled. So they're all kinds of good, but the Bulls were too strong for them.
True.
Gosh, shout out to Speckman for that super play. That got play of the week in Super Rugby, obviously, but it was just delightful little tackerful 7s-y loveliness. Started with a Pollard flash, but then the little chip over the top, the duck to the floor. Starting to see a few players do that. We actually saw Rob Carney do that in a defensive way. In the season. Sitting down on the bouncing ball instead of trying to gather it and catching defenders, and then he picks it up only to dance away and do a little basketball throw, which created a try. And Speckman's a great guy. He's a guy who could be in the Springbok squad because he's thinking tries all the time. There's risk there, but there's also reward.
It's a good way for teams that are so bludgeoning and physical. It's a good thing to have wingers that are lethal.
It's a good thing for Andre Pollard as well. Like Pollard takes a lot of contacts. He's been frustrated of late. He had a great game at the weekend.
Lovely try. He runs took his try very well.
But, exactly. But he's got to be thinking like, he's got to love it when he puts a beautiful pass in that skips and puts his winger in space, and then his winger finishes it. Like he makes the try. You've put him in space and he finishes the sentence. He extends it. He does it. Completes the move. That's a good feeling for a 10, and that puts them in a much more positive space. They are still flaky as hell, and I need to.
I don't back them, to be honest. I find it very hard to bank on the Bulls to do anything come the business end. I actually think they're going to suffer a defeat probably in the quarters or semis stages, just fall
back
short.
Them to make the playoffs anyway.
Probably just But then losing the first round of the playoffs.
Well, speaking of, by the time this is uploaded, in fact, Friday's Super Rugby games, because we're shooting this Thursday evening, but we're going to upload it up on Friday, as doubtless you watching know.
Yes.
So we'll have seen the first two games of the weekend, Chiefs against the Reds. To my money, doesn't matter so much. I think those are two non-playoff teams now. After the Chiefs lost to the Blues last week, I think you can probably write them off.
They started too poorly to ever
they're
really
not,
make a run
but
of it.
it's not just that their team isn't there.
No,
it's not.
When couple that with the fact that Mackenzie's out for the season now as well. Like there's
no
just
D-Mac, no party, and so it has proved.
No, they have Diet Mackenzie.
Yeah, well, Marty's good.
Marty's good.
I liked the Mackenzie that was going on, but without D-Mac.
Well, they spent the first half of the season with D-Mac, him at 10, and then eventually figured out that was wrong, put him back in his proper position.
Just looking good, and then he got injured. Yeah, it's a crime, and he's not going to be at the World Cup, which is the greatest shame.
Yeah.
Also, shout out Devon Toner. Hopefully, he will be okay. We still have no answers. We should have mentioned that in the Leinster segment, but shout out Dev Toner. I hope he's okay.
Yeah,
he's great. What was I going to say? The other game, which actually is kind of interesting. Obviously, still Aussie conference toppers, who we don't talk about that much. The line-out maul of a team.
Yes,
a team that is a line-out maul. Is the Brumbies are playing host to the Bulls.
It's so funny to watch their highlight reel. It's just like
just
maul tries, one after the other, and they're all the same. They just work all the time.
They used to do that even in the days of days of Stephen Moore. It was just like Stephen Moore hat trick week after week because he was the guy at the back of the wall. And it was gas, and they're still gas. But they're playing the Bulls, and as we were just talking about the Bulls, that game's obviously going to happen, but that'll be, you'll know at this stage what's happened in that game, but that'll be a telling moment for the Bulls, whether they can go back to back in Australia, get what will be a very important win in what is a very competitive conference. It's a game that they should win. They have the physicality to stop what the Brumbies do. They're a stronger team than them around the park. Are they going to go to Canberra and get that win?
And if they win, maybe I'll revisit my consensus on them. But if they lose that game, I'll be doubling down. They'll just about scrape their arse into the playoffs and then lose. And probably that's my thought on Bulls this year. The
Saturday games, which we can preview in a bit more. Looking at, you expect the Rebels to go to away into the Sunwolves. I'm unsure whether that's in Singapore or in Japan.
You wouldn't know, but you'd expect
Japan is the tougher trip.
It is,
Australian
the crowd
team in
gets
particular.
on board.
The Japan is a tougher trip. Singapore is like almost a bigger. It's definitely a bigger trip from Japan than Australia. You would expect the Rebels to do that regardless. And then Crusaders Blues. The Blues technically have a last chance saloon, but not really.
They nearly got them on the first day of the season, and that'll be wearing on both teams' minds. I suspect the Crusaders will win, probably by around 12 or more.
Usually a safe bet to back the Crusaders. Waratahs Jags is huge though for both teams. For both teams,
that's going to be a very pretty game. That's probably my game of the round. Is Waratahs Jags. In fact,
100%. Well, mine is the other game. I'm going to skip by Stormers Highlanders, which is interesting in its own way. Two teams that are thereabouts. Highlanders are still there. They're just. It's coloured by the fact that they're third in their conference, but they're still, points-wise, they're still right with the top teams in South Africa and Australia. But they're just not quite where the Canes and the Satyrs are. So that's a sort of a simmering game. It certainly might be a good watch. And interesting to see what the Stormers do hosting another Kiwi team in Newlands. Will they get the same kind of crowd and everything else? I don't know. But I'll be curious to watch that. But for me, the biggest game is Sharks-Lions in the SAFA conference. The winner of that and the loser of that's going to be in a sticky spot going into the last few rounds. The winner of that is going to be in a very good position.
Very strong pole
and the Sharks have had a load of balls about them all year. Load of hustle. Kerwin Bosch is in at 10. It's a good picture. And the Lions are getting into some form now. So
the Lions looked very good last week against the
Highlanders.
It was the Highlanders, that's right. Yeah. Little Aaron Smith.
They
were firing some bolts in the first half, but that was at home as well. So
in Ellis Park, the Johannesburg factor is real.
It is a factor. This time, I'm obviously from where we're coming on the podcast. It's good guys, bad guys. Come on, the Sharks.
Come on, the Sharks.
Whoop those Lions. Get them out of there. Get them out of there.
Yeah, but, I love the Sharks.
But the Lions do have a tendency to win these little fixtures.
They do.
When they come around. They do. And then when it's business end of the season and it's which South African team's going to be there.
It's a huge game.
Often ends up being the Lions.
It's a huge game. I'm looking forward to it. It's the season's hotting up in a big way.
This is it. Yeah, we're going to, as we were hinting at last week, we're going to be getting more into our Super Rugby coverage, and then as we wind up towards the Rugby Championship as well. Obviously, that's when
this will be the last weekend that I won't be watching any of these games live, because we have that triple header of stacked Saturday games in Europe, and that's where our precedence is going to lie. But we are going to record those games, and I'm definitely going to make a point of watching Sharks, Lions, and Waratahs, Jags in particular. I think those are the
proper
picks
games. Picks of the bunch.
100%.
Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment as well, because we enjoy the chat and conversation. Thank you.